we talked about coastal living, where places like Byron Bay have basically priced out the locals. Well, up in the up in the snow country, in the high country, you got similar sorts of issues. So Jindabyne, it's a relatively small settlement. I think the biggest town near it is Cooma, but Jindabyne's kind of the settlement on the outside of the Kosciuszko National Park and the snowfields. So if you want to go to the snowfields in from the New South Wales side, if you go to the Victorian side, you've got Mount Hotham, Mount Beauty. You've got a bunch of places in the Victorian high country that you can still access from, and people live at and stuff like that. From the New South Wales side, mainly you're looking at Tumut, Cooma, Jindabyne. Cooma and Tumut a little bit further out. Tumut's accessed from the west, Cooma from the northeast. Jindabyne's sort of like right on the limit, right on the edge. I mean, you had smaller settlements. You used to have some smaller settlements at Amadeux. I mean, Guthiga's inside, Smig and Holes. I mean, there's Thredbo is about the only permanent settlement permitted inside the national park. There are some places, but they're mainly for the Snowy Hydro scheme. But yeah, your other places like Adaminaby, even smaller, tiny settlements. Great for fly fishing, but the biggest town as such is Jindabyne, and then further away is Cooma. But so the issue with Jindabyne is, well, you've got high property prices, limited housing stock, but the problem is a lack of high income jobs or high enough income jobs for the locals to afford them. And so, a quarter of the homes now are Airbnb / short-term rentals. It prevents the locals from taking a long-term rental, plus the cost is going to be rather high. And obviously in the low season, there's no one around. The population still can't move in. So yeah, 4,000 people for most of the year. Monster numbers during winter. They've also the bottom end of the ski tube as well, and so massive numbers. But yeah, the locals can't rent in because, well, Airbnb and other short-term rentals take off. And so, yeah, the house will sit empty for 3/4 of the year because it's very much worth it coming out. Now, Berriedale, tiny little place, even further out, but still got to move in. Average house prices over $1 million. Now, $1 million, there isn't the income in town, there isn't the economic base in town to support a lot of people being able to afford that. And 85% rent increases in 5 years, that's just insane. So, yeah, it's forcing people out. Like I said, for other places as well, you force your locals to live elsewhere. So 30-minute commute, and he's living out in the middle of the bush. That's insane, to be honest. That's insane. So yeah, someone who owns their own house couldn't afford it if she didn't have additional outcome. It's, yeah. People have even moved to Canberra. Now, Canberra's got high prices too. It's just, yeah, pricing out the locals. I mean, eventually it'll collapse a little, I guess. But yeah, there's the problem. It's like you can't throw too many more houses or places in. There you go. The problems, suggestions all over the place. Yeah. It's struggling. So yeah, that was interesting. And then to compound the problems for people, the Sydney Morning Herald popped up and said there's suburbs where, well, despite rate cuts and everything else, people are unable to meet mortgage costs now. The fortnightly payments on a $500,000 mortgage, 30-year mortgage, 25, 30-year mortgage, you're looking at least 1,500 a fortnight. I might actually be a bit off. There's mortgage calculators out there, you'll see them. But that's not counting the deposit you had to pay. If you've bought in the major cities with your 10% deposit, maybe even a 20-cent deposit, you're still looking at a $750,000 mortgage. So the cost to service that is probably $2,000 plus a fortnight. So it's $1,000 a week cash in hand you've got to have that you're then going to hand over to the bank and never see again. And that's just to service the basic cost. You're not going to get ahead on that rate. So, great, the rates are being cut, but the outer suburbs, where they're lower income, people find affordability, but also where people have lower incomes, no surprise you're going to fall behind on mortgage payments compared to the places where people with more money live. Not a surprise. But the arrears level is generally pretty low. Like, we're not anywhere near a global financial crisis type level. Like sub 1%. Okay, the ACT is at 1%. But people are not expecting, it's actually today, it should be happening right now, the cash rate to change. So it'll be interesting to see. But 1%, although you've got places where you almost triple that rate for people being arrears. And it's, how do you manage that? Debt to income levels are insane when you've got such a high mortgage stress. Once the rates go up, if they go up by 2%, you're going to see a lot of people distressed sales coming on the market, and prices just keep going up. So you're going to struggle to find. That said, the Sydney Morning Herald at the same time had an article that said that some people whining that housing reforms have gone too far, others saying they haven't gone far enough. And there was the planning law changes previously, but the reforms are basically to try and expedite development approvals. But then you've got the NIMBYism starting to come out, not in my backyard, where people are saying, look, now my beautiful leafy suburb is starting to get overdeveloped. Well, that just means you can't have the poors living anywhere near you. And so it's like, well, there is a long way to go for more affordable housing. But the problem is it's like historically low density housing. So there's still, a lot more medium and high density housing, but we've covered several articles about people complaining about high density housing going in. Now, in part, it's because the infrastructure isn't there to support it, but also in part it's because, you're going to ruin my view. And it's our density is nothing like a lot of other cities around, a lot of other countries around the world, even in density stuff. So 5 k's from the Sydney CBD, more than 50% of residential land is low density. 1 or 2 homes per block, rarely more than 2 stories. It's insane. I mean, it's a beautiful part of Sydney's aesthetic appeal, but it means there's a cap on the number of people who can live there, and it means that prices are stupidly insane because people are trying to get through. And so we've got nearly 6 million people trying to live in a place that half the land is zoned low density. People complaining about a high story, an 11-story building going in. There's a lot of people complaining. So it's got to change if they want if they want to support the population. It's got to be met with equivalent um, equivalent improvements in infrastructure. Yeah, probably never a one good answer.